So I've been telling you for the last few years that driver ball speed and distance is maxed out. But what if I've not been telling you the whole truth? Right, so what I would say there is, it's not that I've been lying to you, but I did a video a few weeks ago about the future of drivers and potentially how non-conforming drivers we might see more and more in amateur golfers' bags. And the idea being that majority of the driver faces nowadays are a particular thickness, and unless you swing at a certain speed, maybe you don't fully activate that trampoline. So the guys at Krank Golf have gone for something very, very different with their approach, where they're looking to fit your driver face down to your club head speed so that you get optimum performance and therefore maximum distance. So what the guys at Krank Golf are saying is that unless you swing at 110 mile an hour, you don't fully activate that trampoline effect on the face. So what they're doing is they're making 3 different heads very much aimed at those different club head speeds, where the thickness of the face gets gradually thinner as they go through the swing speeds. Now, that can be a challenge for a lot of the manufacturers currently, because most drivers, their faces are actually cast. Now, not all of them, I appreciate that, and comments were made on my last video, but the majority of them are cast. So there needs to be a certain thickness so that the quicker swing speeds don't break the face. But what Krank are talking about is if you're over kind of 105, 110, you can use a fully conforming face. If you're kind of 105 down to 85, you maybe go a little bit thinner, and under 85 is their thinnest face. So what I've managed to get my hands on is the brand new Formula F11X driver. Now this is the intermediate face, so I'm just a little bit slower after lockdown, therefore I don't fully get that speed. And I would say I don't always get that full 1.5 smash factor. I don't ever feel I maximize what I can get, even when I'm swinging at my best and striking it at my best. So I've got this driver, and we can see from the close-up at the head. When you look on top, it's very, very different looking. I mean, there's definitely some similarities, I think, to other things out on the market, but it's a very different looking head, and for me, it screams kind of aerodynamic when I look at it from the top. When we look at the bottom of the driver, we can see there's 2 weights now towards the back. They're there to offer a little bit more stability and maybe just change those launch conditions a little bit. Around the side of the club, we're looking at extra strengthening, so giving good rigidity to the head so that those off-center strikes, we don't start losing dispersion. When we look at the profile from face on, we see the back edge being much higher, which again is a very aerodynamic story that we've seen with other manufacturers this year, and yet Krank have actually done that for a while in their driver. And around the neck, the hosel of the club, we can see a lot of adjustability in there. But the big story with a non-conforming driver is the club face. So what I'm excited to test is, does this get me more distance, you know, on the good one, but more so on maybe that one that's not quite out in the middle. And just what I'm interested in is how many of you guys out there, and I'd love you to comment below, how many of you guys out there really would love to see an extra 15, 20 yards, even more off the tee, and you maybe don't play club competitions anyway, so would you be willing to put a non-conforming driver in the bag if it meant you could find those extra yards that you currently can't with the limits that are set by the governing bodies? Like I said, I'd really, really be interested. I think there's going to be a lot higher percentage of guys would be willing to do that than a lot of people would think, because I still think distance off the tee is a major driver in how golfers judge their golf game. And who wouldn't like to sit around with the mates and say that you were 10 yards behind them and now you're 10, 15 past. So please comment below, let me know what you think, but let's get on with hitting some with this. First of all, I'm going to hit some with my own driver, because we need to see in today's conditions, with me swinging the same, what does that non-conforming face give me that I might be missing out on? Right then, so some really good promise of extra ball speed, extra distance, that one little negativity of not being able to play in competitive golf or official golf. But you know what? I don't play a lot anymore, so if this potentially got me more distance, I'd definitely consider putting it in the bag. And I do think, as I said, there's a lot of golfers out there who don't play competitive golf who would just like to hit the ball further. So what we need to see is, does it actually give me more than, say, my current driver? So I'm going to hit a first few shots with my Cobra Speed Zone. Love this driver, been in the bag for a while now, love the way it looks, love the way it sits. So I'm going to hit a few shots just to get kind of a baseline numbers. Then we're going to go on to the crank and we're going to see, does high COR driver really perform? Right, so not all dead straight, as I would expect with me. And I would say my club head speed isn't still quite back to where I would like it to be. But let's look at some numbers from my Cobra and see what we're going to be up against. So we can see a little bit side to side with the dispersion. Club head speed 106. So like I said, I expected that to be a little bit down. Ball speed at 154. So it's definitely back of where I would like to be. And we can see there the smash factor at 1.45. 1.5 is optimal. And if I was hitting it really centered, I'd expect to be 1.5. But being honest, I don't always get, even on the centered strike, I very often get 1.48. So never really get that full efficiency for me. And the carry at 256 and 282, very much what I would expect to see. So when we look at how optimized that is for me, we can see I should, for my speed and delivery of club, be carrying it 265, total 291. So very good at 256, 283. And we can see kind of launch angle, spin, height, right up there. But the one thing that lets me down a little bit is not getting that ball speed as optimum as I can. Right, so that moves me on to the Krank Formula 11X. So as I said at the start, there's actually 3 different heads, and Krank very much talking about your club head speed is then what creates which face you should be using. So I've got the face on that's for kind of 85 to 110, maybe 105. So I'm kind of right in that borderline between conforming and non-conforming to get the face working as efficiently as possible. So we've had a look at the head. It's very different, and certainly when I put it down behind the golf ball, you know, instantly I wouldn't say it's a club that I love the look of. Now I would say part of that is it's just different from things I've looked at before, and I think if it works, I'll very quickly love it. But certainly when you put it behind the ball, just the little white accents on top of the head just draw my eye a little bit to that. So I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but let's hit some shots, give you feedback on how it feels, and most importantly, does it work? Oof. So it is very loud. And I'm guessing that loudness comes about it being pressed, forged, and then pressed to make it that harder face. And if I'm being honest, you know, loud in my head is then an association with it going further. So, decent to start with. And it does feel very different from the majority of the drivers that I've tested. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, it's all about ultimately performance and do we get that improved ball speed. And I do like that. And I think even, I've hit a few shots obviously in warm up, and the more shots I'm hitting, I would say the more I'm getting accustomed to how that sound and that feel go with this driver. Yeah. Don't mind that at all. And certainly we can see, even in these first few shots, that smash factor's up, that ball speed's up. Granted, I've just been a little bit quicker on a couple of these swings. Now that could just be the shaft. It's not down to being warmed up because the sun's on me and it's very warm down here today. And again, very, very loud. Certainly getting out there. Right, so let's go one more. Okay. So, if I'm being honest, haven't really been paying attention to what's on the screen there, but they all felt just a little bit low off the club face. So didn't feel I've really flushed those. But let's look at some numbers and let's see how the crank driver non-conforming face performs. Right, so we see my club head speed just under 108 mile an hour, so just a little bit quicker than I was swinging with my Cobra, but the ball speed's a massive pickup at 161. And we can see, as it felt, just a little bit low, nice and centered, but a little bit low on the face. Smash factor at 1.5, so without flushing it, there's the absolute optimum transfer of energy to golf ball. Now that for me would show that the non-conforming face is working, and as a result of that we see that carry at 266 and total at 289. So we can see it's an extra carry of 10 yards and just under 10 for the total. But when we look how optimum that is, so it's saying now my carry should be 272 and 298 total, but everything really lined up there. And the impressive thing is that ball speed is up, so the non-conforming face is doing its job. And really for me, just that spin a little bit high, which has then cost me. But as a result of that, that's more down to strike, which is me, rather than the driver. But all in all, non-conforming face doing what it should. Right guys, so some really interesting numbers for me there. I mean, a big pickup in ball speed. There was a little bit of pickup in club head speed, so I know that's a contributing factor. But we saw that smash factor, even though the strikes weren't as good, went from 1.45 to 1.5. So I think if I was really flushing it, which I think is just me getting used to that driver a little bit more. They were solid strikes, don't get me wrong. I think I might get even more ball speed. And for me personally, at the speed I'm swinging, potentially then I could start eking up towards that kind of 165, and as I maybe get a little bit quicker, get towards 170. Then the challenge would be that I might not actually need that face. I might need to go into the conforming face, but that might be another video. So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's content. If you have, like and share it, comment below and I'll get back to as many people as I can. Like I said earlier in the video, I'd love you to have commented during the video as to whether, even before I hit balls, would you be willing to put non-conforming driver in the bag? I suspect there'll be even more comments now you've seen the results, but let me know what you think. Is that something potentially that you'd be interested in? Because I do think even a few of the guys I coach will be more than willing to consider non-conforming because they don't play competitive golf and they just want more distance off the tee. And who doesn't want more distance, particularly if you can keep it in play? So if you've enjoyed today's content and you don't currently subscribe, please consider clicking the button below. Remember to ring that notification bell and then you find out whenever I drop a new video. Follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.